After being in this community for so long, I've noticed a visible downgrade in the fandom compared to Season 1. I couldn't pinpoint exactly what the problem was until yesterday, when I finally realized the main issue with the Season 2 and Season 3 fandom, and how they've actually ruined the show. I was just waking up, made my coffee, and was scrolling randomly through social media when I came across a poll asking which of these characters was more broken. The options were Noel, Junhee, Hyunju, and Gumja. Junhee won with an overwhelming 67% of the votes. Initially, I didn't pay much attention to this poll, but later I came back to the post and checked the comments. In the comments, there was another poll, and the majority vote truly shocked me. The question was, who is the most evil character in Squid Game? The options were In-ho, Il-nam, Myung-gi, and the salesman. Who do you think fans voted as the most evil? According to them, it wasn't the creator of the games. It wasn't even the man who lured people to their deaths with a smile on his face. No, the most evil person in the Squid Game universe, according to the fandom, is Myung-gi. And that's when it hit me. The Squid Game fandom is now overrun with children, and the show has turned into a popularity contest instead of a critique of capitalist society. Now, I don't have a problem with teenagers watching the show, even though I have doubts they truly understand its core message without experiencing the harsh realities of our economic world. I actually think it's important to expose them to the truth about how the world really works, rather than filling them with the usual Hollywood-style, always happy ending. They need to know the reality they'll face as adults. The real problem is with kids watching this show. I'm honestly amazed at how many children have seen something this grotesque. At first, I thought my encounter with this was just an isolated case, but apparently it's not. When I first started my Discord server, I had no prior experience running one, so I asked my subscribers and the first people who joined to help me moderate it. After selecting a few active members and discussing things with them in private chat, I was shocked to discover that one of them was only 8 years old. Out of curiosity, I asked if he had actually watched the show and what he understood from it. He told me yes, he watched it with his 6-year-old brother, and they only watched it for the games. They skipped most of the conversations and, as he called them, the boring scenes, just to watch the action-packed ones. Let me be clear, even though the show is based on children's games, it is not for children, plain and simple. In my opinion, this is exactly what's wrong with the fandom. People haven't even watched the full show or understood the message, yet they argue online as if their opinion is the only valid one. I've seen this behavior countless times in the Discord server. If I didn't answer direct messages right away, or if someone posted a different opinion from the popular one, they were immediately called out, insulted, and even cursed at. The whole concept of discussing the show and exchanging different opinions has been destroyed. It's no longer about conversation. It's about, oh, you have a different opinion than mine? You're wrong. Get out of here. I hate you and your opinion because it's wrong. Even if you openly invite debate or ask for counter-arguments, you won't get any. All you'll get is marginalization for not agreeing with the majority. The saddest part is, most of them don't even truly believe what they're saying. It's just the trend, and they've adopted it as if it were their own belief. If you ask them to explain why they believe it, you won't get an answer. Just more insults. To be honest, I truly miss the days after the first season, when there were so many interesting discussions about the series, the characters, and the message behind it. Now the fandom mostly argues over which character is better, hates unrealistic portrayals, and ships everyone with everyone. I got completely exhausted by all the edits and endless conversations about the so-called situationship between In-ho and Gi-hoon. This has also led to an epidemic of misinformation and some of the wildest, most nonsensical theories I've ever seen, often fueled purely by the popularity of certain actors. You all remember the ridiculous number of people who believed Thanos would survive and return in Season 3, or how, after the season ended, a lot of people believed Gi-hoon actually survived that fall, would somehow miraculously recover, and that Squid Game would even get a Season 4 featuring him. Another big piece of misinformation that went viral in the Squid Game community was a fake article claiming that Hwang Dong-hyuk said if Thanos were alive in Season 3, he would have helped Junhee, carried her during the 5th game, and helped her survive. And yet, A shocking number of people still believe this as canon, defending it to the bitter end. This is what happens when such a high percentage of the audience is made up of children. With TikTok nowadays, they'll believe anything they see online without even questioning whether it's real. That's why we keep seeing these crazy scenarios and ridiculous theories everywhere. Another huge problem is that many of them completely miss the whole point of the show. They call the last season shitty, mostly because their favorite character died. I've seen an alarming number of debates and videos suggesting that Gi-hoon should have killed the baby in the end, as if that's the core issue with the season. When I say season 3 was a flop, it's not because of the ending or because the main characters died. That was never my problem. In fact, I thought Gi-hoon's ending was perfect, and I even made several videos explaining why. They're on my page if you want to check them out. My real issue with season 3 wasn't Myung-gi's willingness to sacrifice his baby, or the fact that the games didn't stop. The actual problem was the multitude of narrative threads that were left unfinished and how much screen time was wasted on irrelevant moments that were later forgotten. It felt rushed, and Hwang seemed to choose the easiest way out for the majority of the characters. But for the fandom, the one I'm talking about here, that wasn't the problem at all. For them, the only issue was that their favorite character died. They didn't care about why the character died, what their death symbolized, or the message Hwang was trying to convey. All of that went right over their heads. They were only watching because of the show's popularity. I've said this before in another video, but one of the problems with casting extremely popular actors like Jo Yoo-ri or Im Se-won is that their fan bases follow them into the show, and their only interest is that specific character. They become outraged if that character is portrayed in any negative way whatsoever. This is why we see poll results, like the ones I mentioned earlier, where a broken character who endured the horrors of the games and tried everything to protect his baby, but ultimately chose himself to survive, is considered more evil than the actual person who created the games. And this is where the deeper problem begins, because once a fandom stops engaging with the moral complexity of a story, it becomes a completely different kind of community. It's no longer about the world the series builds or the uncomfortable truths it forces us to confront. It becomes about protecting personal favorites, feeding into trends, and rejecting anything that challenges the comfortable narrative fans have built in their own heads. This is the danger of letting the loudest voices in a fandom be the least informed. And it's not just that these younger viewers don't understand the themes, it's that they confidently spread their shallow interpretations as though they were fact. That confidence, paired with the rapid-fire nature of platforms like TikTok, means misinformation travels faster than any thoughtful analysis could ever hope to. Think about it. One well-edited, emotional fan video can overshadow dozens of nuanced essays or discussion threads. A fabricated, behind-the-scenes quote can get more attention than the actual words of the creator. And before you know it, the fandom's collective memory is built on half-truths and imagined scenarios. I've seen this happen before with other shows, but with Squid Game, it feels even more dangerous, because this series isn't just entertainment, it's a mirror, a warning. But here's the most ironic part. Many of these kids believe they get the show simply because they've memorized character names, trivia, or minor plot details. They'll argue endlessly over who could win in hypothetical matchups, but ask them what the ending of season 1 was really saying, and you'll get silence, or worse, an answer so far removed from reality it's almost unrecognizable. The fandom is evolving into something the show itself would have mocked, a competitive, popularity-driven spectacle where substance doesn't matter as long as you're winning the argument. And it's sad to see this amazing series turn into this carnival, because with time, this is all that would be remembered about Squid Game. Not the deep theme about the cruelty of the capitalist system, not the perfectly written characters trapped in its gears, but only the shallow noise of popularity polls, edits, and shipping wars. And that's a tragedy, because Squid Game was never just about a deadly competition. It was a mirror showing us the very real game we are all forced to play in life.